Hello, and welcome to the Creative Mindset Podcast. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg, and I am thrilled you are here. Today, I want to talk about patience and keeping your eyes on the prize. Let me talk to you about the worst bus trip ever. I was riding down from New York City down to Richmond yesterday, and this gets a little scatological because someone had, let's say, had an accident in the bathroom in the previous trip, and the people neglected, the service people had neglected to clean the bathroom. So the stench was unbelievable. So there I was in just, it was terrible, awful. Look, let's put it this way. I have been in countries where the place you have to relieve yourself is a hole in the ground with two little porcelain footprints on either side of the hole, so that's where you put your feet to do your business. And I told you this was scatological, and that was a much neater and nicer and easier situation than what I found myself on the bus yesterday. And the reason I'm bringing this all up is that my seatmate was actually this lovely woman, and she and I were chatting about making this trip down. And so I asked her, are you a visitor to New York, or do you live in New York and are going to visit Richmond? And she said, no, I used to live here, but now I live in Richmond. And I said, oh, well, do you like it? And she said, no, I can't wait to get back to New York. And I was like, well, New York is my favorite town, so I totally understand. But also, I asked her, are you making plans? And she said, oh, yeah, I am. It's going to take a while, but I'm going to get there. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I work on it a little every day. And I thought, really? And I asked her about that some more. And she said, yeah, every single day I add a little something into my plan to make it back from Richmond to New York. It's going to take some patience. It's going to take months, but I have to find the right housing, and I have to find the right job opportunity, and I have to do all of these things, and I have to save enough money. And every single day I work a little bit on making that plan happen. And I was floored by this because think about it for a second. This lady moved from New York down to Richmond, found that she didn't really want to be there, and instead of throwing up her hands, she went, okay, what's the goal? The goal is to get back to New York. And I'm going to do it, but my resources don't allow me to do it right now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create a plan. I'm going to make the prize the move back to New York, and then I am going to make it happen. And not only that, but I'm going to be patient with all of the different pieces that need to play together, that I need to fit into this, big jigsaw puzzle to make the New York skyline happen. And so every single day she spends some time, she's like, I balance my checkbook. I have an account that I put all of my extra money into. Any extra money that I have goes right into this account, the Move Back to New York account. She said, I live very within my means. I don't go out. I don't party. I don't go to movies. I spend my money only on the things that will let me keep working towards the goal. And that was, to me, kind of revolutionary, because here she is. She's got a situation where she doesn't want to be where she is. And again, instead of complaining, she thought, what do I need to do to make this happen? And so I'm going to start doing that too. Keep your eyes on the prize. What is the ultimate goal? That makes a lot of sense. But then be practical about it. I can dream. We can all dream, right? We can dream about what the big, lofty goal or ideal is. But if we don't have a plan we then put into action and support every single day, well, then the dream is just a dream. It's not a plan. Do you see the difference there? The dream can be pie in the sky. The plan is actionable. So that's my challenge to you. What is it in your life that you want to do, that you want to bring into your life, that's still a dream rather than something you can plan and make happen? And what would you need? What are the top 3 things that you would need to start working on once you know that dream? What are the top 3 things that you need to start working on in order to start making that dream come true. And these need to be actionable, right? So I'm going to grab a piece of paper right now. I'll wait. Or your phone or something like that, and write out your goal, write out the dream. Whatever it is, for me, it might be to have my speaking business earn 6 figures within the next year. Okay, let's say that's a lofty goal, but dream, and that's okay. Let's make that happen. That's what my goal is. So then I write that on a piece of paper or into my phone, and then I say to myself, what are the top 3 actionable items that I need to make happen in order to start working on that goal? And more importantly, what are the actionable things that I can do every single day to support those big 3 things? So let's say the first thing is to network and meet people who book for those kinds of events. That's potentially a sort of a pillar in that foundation. Okay, I need to network. So then let's break that down into 3 actionable goals. I can look for meetup groups. I can do Facebook searches on groups that have speaking engagements in New York City, or I can join the National Speakers Association in New York, since that's where I live. Those are 3 things that I can do to network. Another pillar could be that I need to build my skills, right? So I need to build my skills as a speaker. And that could mean working on my speeches, right? I have one speech that's called "You're an Alien and That's Okay," and another speech is called just simply "Are you ready?" So those speeches are there, and I could be tweaking them every single day. I could be working on them in addition to developing my skills as a presenter, how I hold my body, how I speak, how I use my voice, how I use my eyes and hands, how I connect with the audience. I can also be working on the speeches themselves, right? So that's another pillar, working on myself, working on potential clients and customers, working on myself. And a third one could be, as I'm working on this, working on my online presence. Let's say that's a third pillar of making my speaking business successful into the 6 figures within the next year. So working on my online presence, I can be building up my mailing list, and I could be working on that every single day. This podcast is another thing that I could be doing every week like clockwork to keep building my presence. So that's another thing that can be actionable every single day. Finding things to speak about or write about on the blog or do videos, those are all things that could be the third pillar. And each one of these 3 pillars can be divided into 3 separate things that I can do within each pillar. And then each of those 3 separate things can be divided as well. And if you see what I'm saying, you can keep breaking things down into their raw and most basic parts so that they are super actionable every single day. No, I might not go to a networking every single day, a networking event, I mean, but I could be looking at a Facebook group and commenting and getting to know people in that Facebook group every single day. I could become a very active member of the National Speakers Association every single day. There are any number of different things that I could be doing daily. So that's my version of it. And if you have a goal, what is your version? What are the top 3 pillars, the main broad branches of things you would want to work on to start making your goal happen, to achieving it? And take one of those right now, write it out, one of the pillars, and see what are 3 sort of supporting pillars of that big pillar, because that's kind of what it is. You're going to have to break each of those things down. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is put a little document together and put it in the show notes so that you can download it and use that to break things down so that you can see how each pillar is supporting the pillars above it or below it. And it becomes this wonderful little almost pyramid or tree that you can work on to achieve the main goal. And you want to break things down into that very manageable, easily definable, actionable set of 3 steps that you can keep working on every single day. And the more you do that, the more you're in the work, the more patient you will be because you're in the work. You're always making progress. And this is one of those things where, I don't know if you do this, if you ever drive, boy, I will drive out of my way. I admit this. I will drive out of my way instead of staying stuck in traffic. In other words, if I can keep moving forward somehow, I would much rather keep moving forward than sitting stuck forever in a traffic jam. And the same thing for being patient. I'm not a particularly patient person, I'll admit that. But also, I love the idea of making even tiny progress because even tiny progress feels like I am still working on it. I don't get impatient with myself for the progress not being bigger than it is. I just need to feel like I'm moving forward. And I'm happy to be patient for a project to take a long time. I just don't want to be sitting there stuck in feeling terrible because I have not done all I could today to make it happen. And a lot of it is that, I think. Patience happens not just because we sit around and wait, but because we are still active in working on it. We're just not judging ourselves harshly for not having gotten there yet. In fact, I say this to my clients a lot because impatience in that way, beating up on yourself in that way, is being 60 miles into a 100-mile trip and being really angry at yourself that you haven't gotten there yet, which, when you think about it that way, doesn't make any sense, does it? But we do tend to judge ourselves harshly for not having achieved more than we have. And my suggestion is instead, head down, eyes on the prize, work. Day in, day out, work on what matters. And what matters is what supports your ultimate goal, because that's how you achieve it. It's not pie in the sky. It's not throwing things out there and hoping something sticks. It's figure out what the goal is, figure out what major platforms will support that goal, what the specific individual steps are that will support those platforms, and break them down into actionable steps you can take every single day, and then focusing, doing, and working on what matters, and you will achieve. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg. I'd love to hear from you, by the way. If you have a goal you want to work on and you want ideas on how to break it down into those pillars, drop me a line. I would love to be able to help you with that. And also, if you just want to tell me what the goal is, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what your dreams are that you are turning into actionable, workable projects that you can work on and make happen. That would be great. So drop a line and let me know. And by the way, if you know of someone who needs to hear this, contact them, let them know about this podcast, this episode specifically, so that they can maybe get some ideas on how they can achieve their goals too. Until next time, this is Isolde Trachtenberg, and I send you all my love.